Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back for the last time today to the ESL European Go4GuildWars2 Cup number 13. This is the grand finals. It's oRNG taking on the Civilized Gentlemen. And for those of you who have been keeping up with the scene in recent weeks, oRNG now has 3 players from the previous TCG roster on it. And as well, the new TCG has still the 3 same members, so it's going to be old TCG versus new TCG, a grudge match here. First place will be taking home 400 euros, apologies, and second place goes home with only 100 euros. Welcome back, folks. Joining me once more is Nas. Nas, what do you think of this matchup?
Hello, everybody. This match is really bringing home the feels to me because it's kind of like an NA atmosphere here. Old team fighting new team. Old members fighting one another. They're once friends, now mortal enemies put against one another to fight for the prize pool of $80 each, 400 total for the winner.
And this does mean as well that now both of these teams, if they have not already, I'm sure they probably have, but if they have not already, they've now qualified for the WTS qualifiers coming up very, very soon, guys. WTS Season 2 qualifiers are going to be very soon from now. And we could very well not only see these teams meet today, but see these teams meet in the grand finals of the European qualifiers too, to see who will be going to Boston for that, to fight for the $50,000 prize pool. So let's not waste any more time. Let's head into the game.
Jump right in there.
Before we get started, Nas, we haven't seen oRNG yet today, so very quickly, let's take a look at their comp. Go ahead and take a look at the red team.
You know him. You love him. Created every warrior build known to man. It's Rob. We're gonna see him running the Shout Warrior. Gonna be good 1v1 potential there and good team support with the shouts. He's not gonna be taking Fear Me, instead he's gonna be running On My Mark for the shorter cooldown, even though it's less utility use in terms of its effect. And he's gonna be running Battle Standard instead of Sigil of Rage. This is what I like to see. Battle Standard can really be a playmaker there. Next up, we're gonna be seeing the classic DD Selly Ellie. Good sustain, good damage, good team support. And next up, we're going to be seeing another Sally Amulet, actually being played by Denchi. You normally see this guy playing as Elementalist, but realizing how vital and engineer is to the comp, he swapped on over, making use of his multi-class potential, and is now playing the same build that Texby is. Next up, we're going to see 2 DPS Guardians. I believe they are both running Zerkers. They're going to be the Bruiser Buddies, who are just going to port right in there and use the hammer, trap him in a Pokeball. And for those of you who don't know, a Pokeball is a Guardian move on the hammer where it has a pretty long cooldown, where it's called a Ring of Warding. It will be placed around themselves, and who's ever trapped in it will be stuck unless they have stability. So that's why we call it a Pokeball. And they're both Zerker stands, so these are going to be really the heavy hitters coming out from the red team. And something else I do want to talk about, although we just saw the blue team in action TCG, Texby left his engineer. I'm not quite sure why, but he wants another Ellie. DD Celiel, you don't see him play this much, so I'm curious how that will play out for them and why they decided to choose this. Because it's not like the red team's running a neck or something that can hard shut down his build.
I think it's
really wondering why.
I think it's just wanting more support and maybe not needing as much CC. So, I mean, you take a look, there's not, besides like maybe the 2 Guardians, and even so, it's not really necessary. There's not really any targets that they can like hardcore burn down through the usage of NGCCs. So I think it's just going for the safer bet for support. Another thing to keep in mind too is that with 2 DPS Guardians, there's going to be a whole load of somewhat tanky burst damage coming in because of the fact that those Guardians can actually take quite a beating, in my opinion, in those big team fights there. So I think having the extra support is going to increase their survivability. Not only that too, but it's just going to help out with, again, tanking that DPS and giving the members of the blue team the extra time needed to get those kills off on the Guardians. It's going to be quite hard for them to take them down, considering all the retail that's going to be in play, and in general, I think having that extra support from the second DDLE is going to help them out by quite a bit in their survivability.
Yep, both teams team stacking, stealth stacking might, getting ready for the opener, and here we go, blue. Let's look at that map. We're seeing cross coming out from both teams. It looks like blue team going for sort of a defensive cross. Texby, aka Tim for now, might have been defending, but opts not to and goes back. Not quite sure what he's doing.
Thinking about it.
Are going in every direction.
Looks like he is going to opt to go far instead, as we see a complete abandonment of the midpoint here for oRNG. We'll see that one of their Guardians, Frey specifically, will be falling back to that point here right now. But beyond that, you've got both Sizer as well as Texby pushing into the mine point to take on Denchi. Denchi's not anywhere to be found yet, but Sizer with a good dodge gets out of the way of the initial opener there from Denchi here. And then, of course, back over at the henge point too. We still see the guys from TCG holding out as we got both Zuik and Kuve taking on 3 players, now 2, from oRNG. Back over at mid 2, we're going to see Helseth come under 2v1 pressure, which means they might need a bit of support. Frey does get that Moa pushed onto a 2 in the 1 versus 1 here. We actually haven't seen the second player jump onto it just yet. We might actually cancel that because Blackjack has gone over to the red team home node to try and support Denchi, as he has just been taken down by both Sizer and Tim. And we're still seeing too the Henge still being held by TCG at the moment in a stalemate. So right now it's looking like TCG, new TCG this is going to hold the advantage by a very slight margin, granted, but we'll still hold the advantage here in the opener.
Yeah, really, really slow rotation coming out from Articuno. You either have to rotate right away or you don't rotate at all, because if you come in slow like that, you're going to get what just happened to Articuno, where your teammate will just be entering the down state, and you don't have enough res potential to go through all that cleave coming out from the blue team. So they're going to be losing the mine node, but he's just going to stall until Denchi can come back up. And taking a look over at mid, still in favor of the blue team's cap, and the reason why they got that cap is because Helseth did Moa. Yeah, go ahead, Blue.
Look at how aggressive right now TCG's being too. Look, they're not even like caring about the cap at mine at the moment. They're just going for kills out of spawn at the moment here. They just took down Blackjack, and now as well we've got the respawn coming from the NG Denchi over there. But they're not even really worried. They're just now going for the cap over here at mine. They could have easily taken a cap a few moments ago, but they just completely ignored it there for about 2 minutes just so they could get a kill off onto Blackjack, preventing them from being outnumbered here at mid, which is actually really brilliant when you think about it, especially considering they still have the 1 cap lead despite the fact that they chose to ignore the mine.
Yeah, as long as you prevent the players from getting on nodes, then you can just go to nodes when they're completely empty. And it looks like Articuno not bothering to take the 1v1 over at mine, going to go make sure nothing's happening. And the real fight is happening over at mid, where the 4v4 is currently happening. Pressure-wise, Denchi sort of running away from there along with Kage. Looks like they found Sizer in a pretty awkward spot, but he's in stealth, so he's just going to get right past there. They're trying to decap Henge, and it looks like they're leaving mid and have their eyes set towards mine, while Sizer, I'm not sure if he's going for the decap yet, realized that Articuno's there and just pulls right out of there. Looks like red team changing completely from mid over to mine.
Rom pushing into this now versus Tim or Texby here at the moment off point 2. We've got a bit of a skirmish happening just outside of Svanier's zone. Denchi under quite a bit of pressure.
Helseth was caught in the Pokeball, literally 100 0'd by Fraze, every single crits. Zuvik trying to res him back up there. The banish goes on the corpse, preventing the res from continuing, but Zuvik's not giving up yet. Goes back forward. Both Ellie's trying to get Helseth back on 1 CCs, 1 heals. Good teamwork there, and now Helseth is back up, so good teamwork there. And yeah, it only cost them a newt, but I'm going to have to go with Worth.
Yep, they're still up by about 60 points, double the duration, or double the point that oRNG currently has at the moment. Helseth as well with a nice port back here. Does manage to juke out of the way of Rom. Gets hit by the pin down though, so it was going to be a bit inconvenient, but still will get himself back into the fray here, and will soon be joining the fight currently happening at the mine, where you have Zuik and soon Helseth, along with Sizer, fighting off against Denchi, Tage, and now Frey for control of the mine point here. We will start to see Denchi fall down first, Sizer going for that stomp, and then think secondly about it, as we do see some other red team players getting close. Now we'll go for that though, and then Denchi won't even try to stop that, as we start to see more reinforcements pile in for the red team. Still have the other 2 caps in pretty much stalemate position at the moment here, as both teams have a single LE planted on those points here. Frey is down back over here at the mine once more too. Did try to see Zuik go for the stomp, but it was knocked back. But however, enough Corpse Cleave DPS was going off onto Frey's in order to guarantee that stomp anyway. Rom is now the next target for the players on TCG, as they're getting very close to taking him into the downstate here as well. Shout out to the come off full on though, so he should be able to survive for a little bit longer. And a nice juke to fall back behind the into the mine here as well. And this fight looks like it's probably going to continue on for a long time, but for right now, TCG does hold the advantage. Keeping in mind, too, nice moves from Sizer as the comms come out, considering that Kuve called out this communication that Blackjack was now coming to mid. Sizer's going to roll back over here to Henge. We'll probably get the decap, but unfortunately we'll fail to get the full cap, as we are also seeing Fraze coming on to this point, too.
This intervention might prevent the decap from happening, but no, he doesn't get the target off or judges was on cooldown, and Sizer going to take that 1v1 surprisingly. Meanwhile, taking a look at the mine node where we see a 3v3 happening, Helseth gets taken out there by Rom with the help of his teammate Denchi, and it looks like they might want to pull out of this node because now they're outnumbered and they can fall back onto no points that they already have. But the 2 engine LEs showing why they play LEs for that sustain. They're able to take this 2v3 and they're able to put out some counter pressure too, and at last looks like they're ready to pull in out of there. You might want to use the Fiery Greatsword so we can get those evade frames and more mobility. Gets a really weird ride the lightning there, but manages to blink on out of there and successfully comes back. Meanwhile, taking a look at the Henge node, Helseth is there. He gets the decap. uncontested, and yeah.
Looks like we're going to be thrown into a big mid-fight here pretty shortly, as we did see a majority of the members from TCG successfully falling back to this point. But at the same time here, red team does have some eyes set back over here at the Henge. Specifically, Blackjack is going to attempt to fall back here. Zuik was chasing him, but it seems Helseth has called them off for the time being, as he might be forced into another 1v1 with these players at the moment. Meanwhile, back on the midpoint, it's looking like Henge may soon ramp up to a 2 versus 2. We have Kuve sitting on the mid node, along with Sizer off node here. Sizer being supported slightly here by Texby at the moment, despite the fact that both Tage and Denshi are trying to hunt down Sizer. Sizer in a very peculiar spot, really has to be careful right now. Might try to go for a decap on mine, but will face off versus Rom if he decides to do that. Looks like he's going to go for it anyway, though. And as we move away from this once again and check out what's happening over here at the Henge, it's looking like, again, with Helseth coming back from the port, it's going to get brought back up to a 2v2, but no, they abandoned the point, or at least they abandoned Zuik off of that. Helseth comes back, not sure what happened there, but they just gave up the cap for some reason, and now they're probably going to let red team have this, despite the fact that they're suddenly going to reinforce it too. Not sure what TCG was thinking there, but they just essentially gave up a cap for free.
I think that was Helseth just panicking there and unable to communicate to his team that he had to get off the point now, where he was going to die, so he just focused on living there and probably wasn't able to communicate fast enough, or his DD Ellies weren't able to get there quick enough. Right now we see Rom defending the mine node, really afraid of the decaps happening, and the same is true for the blue team's Elementos, who's on mid. Helseth is taking a quick peek at mine, probably sees Rom is there and is going to back off. He is stealth right now, just trying to get a reset. If he tries to engage us, he will lose. Now taking a quick look back at the Henge, we still see the 3v3 happening. Sizer getting really low, every condition almost on him in the game. It's down, but he's able to manage to put a Shadow Refuge on him before he dies, so it'll decrease the amount of cleave he gets hit with. Man, ports out of the cleave happening, now he's back up and 3v3 continues. Also, mid node, we did see Helseth unable to get the reset. Tage probably used Judge's Intervention to port right onto him and to crit him for plenty of damage. And now red team really has to be on the aggressive here if they want to come back into this game, and blue team needs to make sure that they don't lose their mid node while
very
keeping
close
Henge
fight
muted.
happening back over here at the Henge at the moment. As we take a look on point, it's Zuik and Blackjack, but everyone else is here too as they continue on with the fighting. Zuik coming under the most pressure for the members of oRNG at the moment here, trying to take down Zuik, but he ports out of there, gets more heals off. You gotta remember, 3 Ellies, 2 of them running with DD support at the moment here, the other one running DF with a little bit of mitigation coming out from the focus there, but at the same time here with extra DD support coming in, they're going to be able to survive for a lot longer, keeping themselves alive, and again here being very, very careful with their team fighting. Helseth now back into the fray here as well. He's over here on the Henge point fighting for control of it currently, tries to go for the Moa onto Blackjack, connects and gets stunned in the process. Unfortunately, no one's around to save him, but again, this is going to be very good, and the denial over there on the Tage too, as Tage tried to engage, but with the knockback there, completely stops that from happening. Moa, unfortunately, while it did buy Helseth some time, was not really going to do anything to push forward the team fight, and at the end of the day, Helseth going to have to pop the portal to come back on here. He knows he's going to go down, so he might as well die on the point.
Something that I've kind of not liked what I'm seeing from the red team right here is that they have Rom with Warbanner off cooldown, just watching mine, unable to participate in the team fight. So I see him swap out with maybe Denshi so he can make use of the Warbanner, which can really swing things into this team's favor if it's looking bleak for him. But even though they don't have Rom there, it looks like they're still holding their own, and looks like their eyes are set up on mid, where it's going to be a 2v2 unless Rom wants to change that up and decide to leave their mine uncapped. But the plus side is that he'll be able to outnumber the blue team mid.
Back over on mid, we're starting to see a fight ramping up here. We're going to be a 2 versus 2 here. Kuve dives in, gets the deep freeze off, goes for the 4 here as well. Thankfully, Denshi did have an invuln to pop off onto himself there, so he's going to be okay once more. Moving away from this to check out what's happening at the Henge here as well. This fight's still going on. Blackjack and Frey still here fighting against Zuik, Helseth, and Texby. All 3 members from TCG at the moment as TCG seeks to hold on to their 1 cap and push that onwards into a 2 cap to solidify their lead here on this map and give themselves an advantage versus their previous teammates and possibly take this week's cup. Back on the Henge once more here, still 1 versus 1 happening, and this fight at Henge is just not ending anytime soon. Frey's starting to get low, so they may score a kill on him, and in fact, Helseth will take him down with a shatter combo there. No one else in the area, though, to really res him, but at the same time, Helseth will go down. Blackjack going for the res, as is, I believe, Texby, however, and again, we're going to see Frey just dive in there, trying to go for the knockbacks and the Pokeball. Will get the Pokeball off, but at the same time, not really going to connect anything, as they will get Helseth back up, and the rest of the members of TCG, at least for now, are in a kind of safe spot as they start to fall back away from this point, and it's looking like they're going to shift their focus back over here to the mine.
A series of unfortunate events really just occurred to Rom. He decided to leave the mine node, probably too late to help his teammates, but by the time he got there, they're already dead. He tried to use the War Banner, but because he has no stability, Sizer easily interrupted it. Then he was able to run back. Then he had to run back to mine, knowing that he would have lost mid if he stayed. And because Sizer's a thief and has more mobility than Rom, he was able to get the decap. So not only did they lose mid, they also got decap on mine. So that's really good plays by Sizer and for Rom.
So of course, checking out once again what's happening here in this mine fight. Cuvée and Sizer both going off against Rom and Denshi at this current time. Sizer did attempt to go for the deep freeze on the ice bow pickup there. We're going to be unsuccessful in pulling that off. Still gets a decent amount of AoE off here, but unfortunately not really doing much to push the red team players into a low health state. And as such, Cuvée is kind of going to run out of gas here as he starts to fall back towards the midpoint. Sizer doing his best to keep those red team players away from Cuvée as Cuvée gets his heals off here, and the other members from TCG are starting to fall back towards mid now, where I'm more than sure red team will start applying pressure. Henge fight is still going at this current point in time. Red team, to be honest though, has to realize now that they're only pushing us closer and closer to an endgame. TCG has held the lead this entire matchup, and oRNG is no closer to tying this game up at the moment. They need to change up the strat because constantly pushing for Henge as they have been for, I would say, easily 4+ minutes at this point is obviously not working. Frey coming in to support mid now. We are going to see a 2 versus 2 being escalated pretty shortly as other players from TCG are also going to be coming in. Henge fight is still being contested here too as both Tage and Blackjack are here going up against Zuik and Helseth, and moving away from this once more. We also have seen Rom finally move off of the mine point. He's going to be coming into that midpoint in hopes of supporting it.
Yeah, so Sizer's really taking advantage of the fact that the red team does not have a thief who can follow him around. He's really sort of juking Rom up and about, like, am I going to decap, am I not? I'm stealth, you can't see me. And Rom's gambling here that he's expecting Sizer to come up mine. So what Sizer just did was really nice, where he just essentially got Rom out of the fight without, like, pressuring him out. He sort of mind games down with the stealth mechanics. And had Rom not followed him, Sizer would have gotten the decap. So it's essentially win-win for the thief there whenever he's in stealth. Looking over to the Henge node, we see Helseth used his MOA earlier, and I think I just DC'd from the game, Blue.
Right.
Nope, just a minor lag spike. I'm still here. That was really weird.
Helseth, of course, taking a look, trying to finish off Blackjack here, trying to get that Shatter combo, but of course not off cooldown just as of yet. Had he had it, might have been able to take him down there, but still gonna see Blackjack kiting like a pro around the pole here, around the little tower, so gonna hump that for a bit, and then of course coming back onto the Henge point, still seeing that 2v2 move onward. Helseth just cannot kill anyone. He's even gonna pop, whoa, portal into the spawn, going back over to the beach now, and is going to try, I think, to rotate this to far node. Keep in mind, they've actually lost control of their midpoint as well at this current point in time. So moving over to the far node might actually be just what they needed in a bit of a juke play. I don't even know if they know where that portal went, too.
Yeah, it's in their spawn, so how could they? I think what they tried to do there is that they know that they're really close to winning the game, right? They're going to use probably mine itself if they can DPS out Rom real quick to get the 25 points, and then use their burst to secure a boss kill. They also got mid while all this was happening, so good stuff coming out from the blue team here. And Articuno nowhere near the team, thinking that the portal was somewhere near Henge, leaving his team to 4v5, but it's not working out for them. This has been a common story happening to the red team.
The one cap back in mid, obviously going to be helping out TCG, but possibly looking at a second cap here as well. At the very least, will score the decap, and I think with just that in mind, that may be solidifying the game number one here for TCG, as a very brilliant portal play, heading back into spawn to reset their positions, then going through the beach to far. Really, I think, caught the members of oRNG off guard here now, and might allow them to take game one. Of course, it's not over yet, folks. They still need 25 more points. They're on the way to capping the man node. No one for the red team going to be able to stop that from happening, although Helseth will fall into the downstate. More reinforcements are on the way. We're now under 20 seconds away from seeing TCG take game number one, and it's looking like it's going to be happening, guys. Unfortunately, although red team is pushing very hard into the mine, I don't think they have enough time to make this happen here, and indeed, the GG has just been called by Rom, so that's going to be it, guys. New TCG will take game number one of this best-of-3 set, putting them only one more victory away from claiming this week's tournament against their old teammates, and as well, we'll be heading on to Legacy, where oRNG will have their last chance to make a comeback, tie this setup at 1-1, and throw us into a game number 3 on the Battle of Kylo. So Nas, heading on to Legacy. What are your thoughts here? What do we need to see changed up? What are your predictions for this map? And overall, what are your thoughts?
We need to see Rom not be the guy who follows Size around. I want to see Rom in the team fights always. I want to see him try to get those war banners off as much as possible and always be a threat there, making use of his shouts that are AoE healing. I want to see a DPS Guardian be sort of the one who has to watch Sizer, like whichever DPS Guardian has Judge's Intervention up, which is a 1200 range port, so that they can follow Sizer and hopefully not get him decap, or I would like to see their Elementalists use Fire Greatsword to help keep up size and sort of like rotate who has the cooldowns to follow a Thief build. Because right now, the red team really is lacking mobility when compared to the blue team, mainly because they don't have a Thief. This is also Helseth's favorite map. He and the Lord are BFFs. He knows the Lord's secrets. He knows when to visit his house. He knows when to defend his own.
It's very comfortable with his Lord friends, of course.
Yes. They don't call him Lord Helseth for nothing.
Yeah.
Yes, he's got those feudal connections going on.
That's a good point. That was cute there. You really made that connection.
I try.
All right, guys. Once again, we're just waiting for the players to load in at this point, and of course, we'll be giving them a few moments here to strategize and think about what they want to do. I do have to say, very good choice with the third Ellie. It does seem a bit excessive and a bit abusive of the Selly meta.
I feel like
but it's
kind of the same thing, you know?
Yeah,
They're both pretty sustainy. Textby will just do... I've been thinking about why he might have wanted to swap. And it's because he wanted to go to a more, like, power build, I'm thinking. Because taking advantage of the fact that the red team has a lot of Condi clear, and if he's on the Selly engineer, the Condi clear would be more hurtful to him, whereas if he's on the DD Ellie, it won't be as hurtful to him. Maybe that's why, but it's just such a slight difference that I don't know why to this day.
Interestingly enough, he's back on NG now.
Yeah, maybe he's feeling more comfortable that his teammates are doing really well right now. Texby was whispering me earlier that the new roster members to TCG are feeling a little bit nervous, the two Elementalists, so maybe they want to play something that was a little bit more safer, more sustainy.
Yeah.
And now that the Elementalists are feeling more comfortable, they just got off of a nice win. They all played really well.
This map, I think, is also going to be a little bit less stressful for those Ellies. Mid-fights won't be as healing intensive for them to handle. There's going to be a lot more room for those guys to navigate, so hopefully they shouldn't be falling into burst combos as easily. And I think overall it's going to be better to have Tex being here too, because the setups will be a lot better. It'll be a lot more helpful to get the setups, like with Magnet Pull and whatnot. All those will be really helpful, specifically on the midpoint, just because that extra CC really helps out a lot with trying to lock down people and preventing kiting so they can get the cap faster.
Yeah. Who needs to be yelled at? Who needs to ready up? The entire red team. Alright, we'll give them time. They're probably still thinking about what they might want to do. Really a struggle and a weird comp for two DPS Guardians.
Yeah, new TCG is ready to roll though, so they're all ready up. We're just waiting on oRNG. Whew, man, this could be a bit of a close one. We'll have to see. I think that, like I said, though, on the last map, the choice to run with 3 Ellies was very good, considering how closely quartered a lot of those fights end up being, with 2 DPS Guardians in there, and with them having a lot of AoE, a lot of spike AoE that kind of pops out of nowhere. It was very good to have that extra heal to support them, but going on to this map, they got a lot more room to move around, they have a lot more room to kite, so they shouldn't have to worry about those DPS Guardians as much, and I think in the fights themselves, TCG is going to have the advantage here. It's really going to be interesting to see how these Guardians choose to keep up, considering that they're going to have to cover more distance now, and they're gap closers. They're going to have to make sure that they use those very nicely, especially the Pokeball as well. They're really going to have to consider those Pokeball setups, because if they get them off, they're going to absolutely decimate TCG, but unfortunately, if they have cooldowns up to negate that, or if those miss, then they're going to have a really hard time keeping up with the members of TCG and just in general dealing damage in the first place.
Yeah, the problem with DPS Guardians is that they really only have one main way to sort of catch up with their opponent, and that's Surge's Intervention. That's normally what they use to sort of enter the fight. Other than that, there is the Immobilize that's coming out from Scepter, but odds are that's not going to hit, and even if it does hit, it's only a 2-second Immobilize. So that's the issue with DPS Guardians, whereas Thief, per se, has plenty of ports that they can run around with, and same with, but with Mesmer, you get the range, so you don't need to be in their face like DPS Guardians do.
Yeah, this is going to be a bit of a tough one for oRNG, so we'll have to wait and see how they choose to try to take this one. So everybody from oRNG's ready to go? And in fact, they're only going to do it. Anyway, guys, here we go with what could be the final match today. New TCG currently leads the set 1-0 versus oRNG. We're now on Legacy here. If we see TCG take this one, they'll take a 2-0 victory, go home with 400 euros, and claim victory versus their previous teammates. Whereas if oRNG can take this matchup here, we'll be going to a Game 3 on Kylo to decide who is going to be this week's champions. Coming out of the gates now, let's take a look at the splits. Nas?
Blue team going for what they did last time on this map, 1-2-2 split, fairly aggressive split where they want to make sure they pressure in all the nodes, and it looks like we're seeing a mimic split coming out for both of them. Numbers are matched up, so this isn't a matter of rotations, but a matter of mechanical skill and teamwork.
Denji also falling back almost immediately here from the henge fight at the moment, or not the henge fight, the quarry fight here. Frey is well under a lot of pressure too, so they are going to go for a bit of a tag team strategy at the moment. Good, nicely done here, as once again Frey gets his cooldowns off. Denji is going to come immediately back into the fight here to take a lot more of that DPS. Back on mid to check things out there. We are seeing Sizer get a nice amount of DPS off on a Tage. Does obviously have to be careful, but for now, blue team is seemingly leading the charge here at this fight, although that could turn around very quickly considering Tage versus Sizer is part of the dynamic there. And then of course back over here at the waterfall, Kuve currently winning versus Rom, but of course again it's two Sellies dueling each other, so that could take a while.
Eating so much cleave. Kuve, get him!
Big burn tick goes off there too, but of course the warrior has no triple cleansing. Any of that does get pinned down, but immediately jumping back on. Kuve so aggressive right now. The comet connects too. Rom popping off with the stability there and will now be forced into a cutting position, meaning Kuve is going to get more of the cap progress. We'll come back to this a little bit later though, after we've seen someone go down. Back in mid, Tage still very low. Sizer doing very good versus him. We do see both players from the blue team diving in to take Tage down off the bat here. We are going to see Blackjack trying to go for the res. Sizer gets tripped up by that CC there, trying to go for the res. They need more poison on him, and we're going to see too Blackjack gives up on trying to res his teammate. Sizer very low, needs to be a bit careful, but will now get the kill off onto Tage. Now they've only got to worry about Blackjack as they have the 2v1 advantage, meaning Sizer can fall back, res himself, and get himself into a good spot. Back over here as well, on the quarry point, they've managed to kill Denji, eliminating the force from oRNG. TCG will be full capping the henge. We'll see Frey dive in onto Helseth, actually gonna give him out there.
Combo with Judge's Intervention brings Helseth down, but Tech's there to save the day. Looks like he's going to get Helseth back up, then they'll be able to turn the fight immediately back on the Freys and make him wish he didn't go make that play. Looking over back to the waterfall node, Kuve's making even more progress towards Rom. He's getting really, really low. Rom playing very defensively now, so we'll check back in that fight for a little bit. And yeah, over at mid, there's plenty of low people. Helseth just coming in from winning a quarry node, trying to reset right now, so we'll be seeing him in a bit. But Articuno seeing this happening, he's not going to let him reset, putting on the pressure onto Helseth. Helseth trying to kite his teammates, portal's back up there, good juke coming out from Helseth. Braum, now that 1v1 is escalated into a 2v2, Kuve getting low, Sizer trying to help him as much as he can with the Frostbow. Good DPS goes on to Rom really low. Frostbow 5 connects onto Denji, so he could probably get the res if he wants to, or he can go for the stomp if he feels comfortable enough that he can kill Rom really quickly.
As well, we do see Rom. They're trying to CC him down. He's in a good spot right now. A lot of heals coming in from the team's Ellie's there, but as we will see, Kuve gets fully knocked out of play here. Sizer also getting engaged upon by Frey. Very good DPS by Frey. Sizer just got here too and has already gone into the down state. Very well played by the guys from oRNG there. They're going to knock him out of play here. Zuik as well being forced off node, and this will finally be a node in the favor of oRNG. Meanwhile, back over here on the quarry, the fight versus Tage, and Helseth is going to go Tage's way as Tage now falls back to mid in hopes of pursuing that cap in favor for his team, but now with the reinforcements also falling back from the waterfall, it's looking like, at least for now, oRNG is going to have a significant advantage in the overall map control.
Yeah, Tagi coming off the respawn gets his home node back for us, so now he's on the board and taking a look at Helseth. Looks like he's going to juke around here and get over to Quarry. Not quite sure what he wants to do. Maybe hear the call that his teammates are having some struggles over at mid, so he's going to rotate back there and help the team fight. It's a 3v2 right now, but with Helseth entering, it will be a 3v3, and it looks like the target is the DPS Guardian Tage. Frostbow 5 connects onto Articuno, but still going on Tage. Hex may be receiving a lot of pressure there, but manages to alleviate most of that with his block. Articuno getting really low Helseth, not giving up the pressure because it was hit with the CC for so long, and this Frostbow is doing a lot more work than I thought it would. I'm seeing it happen left and right, and especially taking a look over the waterfall node, we see Rom 2-cap in favor of the red team, so they really need to make quick work of mid, which I just don't see happening right now.
Yep, we're definitely going to see a comeback from oRNG. They'll get the lead back here now, and it's still a very close game, almost 5 minutes in at this point, and we're sitting at about 49-66, with TCG currently leading barely. As I said, we will see oRNG take the lead in just a moment. There's about to be a big ink in the favor of TCG back over here at the waterfall, though, and actually they have second thoughts about that. Sizer dives in, but Zuik and Kuve don't really seem too intent upon that. Zuik will come to support, obviously, but it's looking like Kuve is actually, Kuve is going to dive back over onto the midpoint, and then back over here on the quarry too. Yet another battle between a DPS Guardian and the Mesmer here as Helseth is forced to go off versus Fraze here. Bit of a toughie fight again. They're considering the kind of explosion of DPS that could come in all at once, but Helseth going to get a nice deny off there on the heavy blow, which would have hit Helseth pretty heavily there with the illusory wave. Still doing an excellent job of kiting. Really good job by Helseth here. Definitely going to put Fraze at the very least on the defense, but even going to go for the jugger
there with the burst.
Yeah.
Sword 2 ports right into the face and goes for the distortion. And he Mo is the guy rezzing too, but fun fact, if someone's already rezzing, Mo and using Mo will not interrupt the res unless they move away. So good stuff from Articuno, not panicking and pressing 5 for the evade immediately when entering Moa and able to get Phrase back up and the team fight still going alive.
Back on mid to check out things that are happening there. Still the 1v1 between Kuve and Rom. Red team does control the waterfall, so they can send their DPS Guardian if they so choose. He seems to be a bit on edge at the moment. Tage does, unfortunately, considering the fact that there might be some inks coming from either Sizer or someone else from the new TCG. So keeping that in mind, he's going to be camping there, at least for now, as the rest of TCG is piling into middle here at the moment. Good opener, I believe, on to Frey specifically there, as those guys jumped into the fight.
Blue Quarry, he doesn't see Denchi. He looks for S-Stealth. Gonna get on. No, huge loss coming in for the blue team. Good plays by Denshi, getting the decap. Now red team's the only one point income at this time. And as time moves on, if this situation doesn't change, red team's gonna get a really nice lead onto the blue team.
Considering what's happening here in mid at the moment, Helsa just got hit pretty heavily by Frey's there. Frey, however, Helsa instantly returning the favor back over onto Frey. Helsa's still 7 seconds away from a heal, so he still is going to fall into the downstate here. Banner coming out for Rom.
Banner I was talking about literally changed the entire tide of the fight right there and then. It would have rallied Helsa and not made the blue team take such dastardly cleave.
And once again, seeing what's happening here, Helseth trying his best to avoid all this DPS currently coming in from the red team sources, but having a very hard time doing so. Gonna get tripped up by the Pokeball and fall into the downstate for yet another time here. Moving back over to the Quarry once more to check that out. Still seeing Zuik and Denshi fight for control of that node, so mid is still where most of our action is happening. Sizer seeing that mid may not be going so well for his team is now gonna fall back over here towards the waterfall here. Most definitely will be getting a decap, but gonna have some trouble getting the full cap as he will have to 1v1 Blackjack for full control. Texby coming in to support though, so he is going to decide once more here to continue on with the conquest. But Tage also coming in, so it's going to get brought back up to a 2v2, and this very likely could be brought up to be our next big fight if things continue on the way they are now. Important to note that Frey, back over there too, did come in to very quickly support Denshi and made very quick work of taking out Zuik there, so we will be seeing oRNG take full control of their home node once again, or actually containing control of their home node there, and now a lot more support will be coming in, and a lot more pressure will be added onto Kuve back over here at mid, as those two are going to keep continuing for control of the midpoint, which has yet to be capped, despite the fact that we are almost halfway through the game at this point.
Really important that Kuve lives for as long as possible, so his team doesn't experience the trickle effect where his team will keep respawning and going into these 1v3s just to hold the nuke. And it looks like he does manage to do that, and seeing that they're losing, Denshi's team is losing the fight over at Waterfall, he's going to rotate on over there instead of keep on pressuring the Elementalist mid. While this is happening, we see a decap heading on over to the Quarry node, Fiery Greatstorm ability proving really effective there, and a lot of pressure coming over to Texby, as well as Sizer over the Waterfall node. So because of Denshi's rotation, it looks like he really swinged up the matchup there, and is now in favor of the red team. Blue team sort of retreating back to the Graveyard node, able to still keep that nuke, getting some ticks of their own. Sizer Frostwell 5 into the Gear Shield, so it blocked. You see Crate coming down, Texby caught in the Crate. Gets a Wombo combo there, just barely manages to live, but has way too many condies on him. Heal turret comes out, almost enough, eating his heal packets. He is trying to live as fast as he can.
And then we will see Texby temporarily exiting this middle fight here for the time being, as Helseth has gone down back over here at the waterfall. We are definitely going to see...
getting eaten by a Moa there.
That was his Moa too, popping that off over there onto his opponent just seconds ago, so unfortunately that's going to backfire just a little bit, but at the same time, the end of the day actually ends up reducing the amount of damage to deal with in Corpse Cleave, so it does work out to some degree. But now with Texby coming in and adding a little bit of extra tankiness to that fight, Helseth is instead now going to fall back over here towards the midpoint, where he's going to engage in a 1v1 slightly for now, versus Denshi. Did get hit with those 5 stacks confusion, so going to be quite a bit of Condi Deeps going on to him at the moment as well. We also saw the burn tick going off. Helseth getting decimated by Denshi's Condis here at the moment, forced to pop his heal. Saw the reflection go back on a Denshi with Immobilized, but at the same time I believe Denshi was immune to that at the time. So it looks like Helseth, at least for now, is going to juke out of the way of Denshi, but immediately will run into Blackjack here. And Helseth really just cannot catch a break here, as he's easily one of the squishiest members on TCG. That's obviously going to make him a target a lot of the time, and without a lot of support coming in from his other teammates, he's going to find himself on the defensive more times than not.
That was a really hurtful loss at the Waterfall node, and because of it, the mid node's going to get snowballed upon, and this might just be a triple cap here and now, and if they can hold this triple cap, the game will be over before we even know it. Legacy is known for having triple caps because of how easy it is to hold the nodes, how easy it is to sort of see the entire map from the mid node, which has such a huge radius. That's really easy to defend. You can't really be CC knocked out of it. And Sizer going down right now. Blue team really has to make an important play here, and they're not even close to Lord range. I wonder what they have in mind.
Taking a look once more at what's happening back over here at the waterfall. Still seeing Kuve and Rom go for control of that. Kuve tried to go for the hard lock and AoE there, but going to fail at that attempt, unfortunately. Back over here at mid once more. Still seeing a very high intense fight happening here. Helseth being chased around the point by Frey. Still, we do have Texby who could be supporting Helseth right now, but they are busy trying to DPS down Denshi. Denshi got very close to being taken out, but unfortunately that Gear Shield did deny Helseth the deeps, but now a good burst coming in for both Sizer and Helseth. They're almost going to take Denshi down, but now a lot of burst also going to come back over here onto Helseth. Denshi falls into the down state. Really big res pressure coming off right now. Helseth will fall down. We do see Blackjack going for res. Sizer needs more cleave on his body. It's not enough here. Zuik tries to go for the stop, but not going to be connecting there. And now Helseth too will be DPS down, giving oRNG a huge advantage in this mid fight and allowing them to take control, at least for now, of the proximity of the point.
Oh no, Blue, they really needed to win that fight. It was so important for them to win that fight and snowball off it because they're already ahead by 200 points now. Like minutes before, they were like pretty much tied up. Now ever since they got the triple cap, they're just skyrocketing ahead in points. And Lord Helseth just now calling the GG in map chat.
Unfortunately, it has gotten to a point now where TCG is really going to be able to be unable to come back at this point, unfortunately, at least according to their eyes. So with that in mind, it's going to hand over game number 2 to old TCG. oRNG will be taking game 2, folks, tying the setup at 1-1, which means we're going to a game 3 tied set on the Battle of Kylo to decide who's going to be taking home this week's victory and who gets to claim themselves as the better TCG.
Yes, Blue, it'll be very interesting to see. It's 1-1. Oh, they must be so stressed out right now because these matches mean a lot. They want to prove that leaving Helseth was the right choice, and Helseth wants to prove that leaving him was the wrong choice. There's a lot at stake here. A lot of pride and a lot of ego.
There's also going to be a very good primer, too, for the WTS qualifiers, as this could potentially be what we end up seeing at the WTS European qualifier finals, too. So this is very good practice time, as I doubt that these two teams are willing to scrim each other, considering the history and kind of the stigma that may be behind the breakup at this current time.
Speaking of scrimming each other, Denshi's team, I've asked them to scrim before, and they're sort of like against scrimming. I think it's because they don't want to fight any NA teams. They just want to leave it to like a surprise, leave their strats for like WTS. Whereas Helseth's team, they're always ready to scrim me when I ask them if they're all on.
Yeah, I think there's nothing wrong with that to say. It's just the teams wanting to be preservative. They probably have their own scrim partners and whatnot. And there's nothing wrong with teams wanting to keep strategy secrets. I do think now that heading on to this next map, moving Texby back to Ellie might be a better choice, personally. Because I think, again, considering that we're going to be fighting in smaller quarters, it's going to be better to have that extra sustain, as they did struggle with that once again here. They just, again, we got into some very long, drawn-out fights on map 2, and it just seemed at the end of the day that, again, TCG did not have... I feel that it was kind of on both sides where TCG did not have enough damage to take down the members on, apologies, not have enough damage to take down the members on oRNG a lot of the time, and at the same time, they didn't have enough sustain to stay alive to kill those members at the same time, so I think the Ellie, if they chose to go to that, might help them a bit better, but it seems at least for now that Texby is going to choose to stay on that NG. What are your thoughts on this, Nas?
Again, I really don't see much of a difference between him going on Engineer and him going on Elementus, besides the fact that he has a lot more experience on Engineer, so I don't really think that's why they lost, and I don't think Texby thinks that either, otherwise he would have swapped by now. I think they're just saying that they lost their fair matchups and just gotta play better now.
Alright, so once again, guys, we have loaded into the map. All 5 players are ready to go. So here we go once more, guys. TCG versus oRNG. They are tied at 1-1. The player that the team that takes this game is going to be going home with 400 euros, as well as the top victor for this week. Second place is taking home 100 euros, 2,000 gems per player, and as well, there are bragging rights indeed, as this is a very high intense match for both sides. We're at over 1,500 people watching live on Twitch right now, guys. If you don't have people that, or rather, if you have people that aren't watching, be sure to tune in, because this is a very good match, and I can tell you right now that this game specifically, there's a lot on the line, so I know both these teams are going to be playing their hearts out right now.
Yes, will Helseth prove that there is a difference between kings and peasants? This match will decide. Looks like TCG is ready up. We're just waiting on the red team. They're probably going over strats. This is... Normally, players don't get to this map because it's normally a 2-0. This has been really close. Deciding which will be the best play. They'll probably go for a similar strat where they get pressure on all 3 nodes. Might want to use the Treb. I think Treb's only good if there's a large team fight going on at mid. Otherwise, if it's like a 2v2, I still don't think it's worth. Because it's pretty easy to dodge the Treb.
Alright guys, so really quickly here, while we're waiting for these last players to ready up, we're going to play the map preview video. I think we only played it once today, so we'll play it one more time for anybody that's watching that might be new to Guild Wars 2 PvP. Let's take a quick look at the Battle of Kylo here, our third and final map for the day, at the end of this best of 3 set to decide who is going to be winning this week's final.
In the Battle of Kylo, players will fight for control of 3 score-generating capture points. Capturing these objectives can be quite difficult at times, as the enemy team may choose to rain fiery balls of death upon you from your trebuchet. The first team to 500 points wins.
And heading back in now, the game has begun, folks. Final match of the day, oRNG versus TCG. Nas, what's going on with the splits?
Looks like the red team's going for the trebuchet right away, and it looks like Helseth is going to get ready to MOA Articuno. And let's see if that holds true.
Bit of an ink coming in over here.
For now, and there comes the MOA. He's just booking it, giving up the windmill note. And the person who they had on the trap immediately rotates on out of there and does a huge burst onto Helseth. He might even take the port to get out of there, and yes, he does, leaving Texby behind for a 1v2. Helseth not wanting to take the portal back. Yep, he has totally left Texby.
Leaving Texby for dead, unfortunately. So, but back in mid, of course, they will bring this matchup back up to a 2 versus 2 there. Helseth does actually screw up his burst combo a little bit there, so it's going to force him to fall back once more while it waits for that to come off of the cooldown. But of course, the 3v1 advantage might be more than worth it now in back in mid, and this might have been why he actually abandoned Texby to begin with. Tage also coming into this mid fight to support things too, but at the same time, good opener coming out here once again from Denchi on to Helseth. Thankfully, he's got his distortion ready to go. Had a few clones up there as well, so going to put him into a good spot now. Be able to fall back here and re-engage just a few moments. Texby goes down. Ooh, Helseth and Size are going to try to go for the clutch res. Nice trip up comes out there. And very good job on that res on Texby. They're going to get him back up with the double res and probably re-engage him mid in just a sec.
I think what I like to see right now is Sizer, instead of going to mid, just +1 and kill Rom real quick so they start getting points on the board. Because Rom's been like using his cooldown, so when Sizer gets here, he won't have any to live. But instead of choosing Sizer, it looks like they're going with Helseth. He'll be the +1er. I like this choice, and hopefully they can just hold out in mid while this interaction occurs.
Moving over to that to see what is happening, and indeed going to be the case as Helseth does engage in the +1 versus Rom here, giving Kuve a little bit of breathing room, tries to go for the lockdown, it gets dodged though, but despite that he's going to go for the big AoE, and Rom just eating it up here at the moment, taking huge amounts of damage, might be falling into the downstate. Helseth needs to get that last bit of DPS to go onto him to knock him down though, but unfortunately it's not looking like that is happening. However, again, the illusionary Berserker will be taking him down. We do see Tage in the area at the moment, however is not going to be able to stop that stomp from happening, and now Helseth will transition his target back over onto Tage, while Zuek moves back on to the mansion point to get that full cap there and finally get TCG on the board.
Zuek just got the decap on the windmill node, and yes, it looks like that Kuve did manage to cap mansion. I like this the play that the blue team did there. They saw that they were losing mid, they saw that their thief was stomped out, so what they did there was that they quickly and as sneakily as possible moved out to the sides, and because of it, they're able to decap windmill and keep the point score 1-1. Rom, 1v1 hero, only goes far, even though he's a port banner. Going in, ready for 1v1 part 2, but what's different than last time is that the blue team has Zanute this time, and you can't easily get him off the point at all. Unless he has Fear Me, there's no reason for him to be there.
He does a Fray coming in to support, yeah.
And there it is, 2v2 going to happen on Mansion. Texby, good combo coming out to Phrase. If he does get Phrase down, it's going to be important to look at Rom and see the war banner and whether or not he's going to be casting it. It looks like Frey's just going to leave that, and at that point I'd advise Texby just to leave too, because you have to trust Kuve to be fine in that 1v1 since it is the point and Rom is making no progress there. Yeah, Blue?
Sizer gonna waste his SR back over here right outside of the windmill in an attempt to save Helseth. The SR came out just a second too late, really. It was very close indeed, but Helseth is gonna get stomped out due to this, and Sizer as well is gonna waste a cooldown essentially here. Will reinforce mid now and actually gets a nice 2v1 engagement off onto Phrase, but still this is essentially handing over control of the windmill point. Actually cancel that because they're not gonna go for the full pursuance on this. Tage kinda having second thoughts about this and will be falling back to mid to guarantee that they can hold that point instead, as I think Denchi again is going to just be on the 1v1 a little bit by popping down the crate. That's going to force Zuik off, but obviously guarantee the win of this node, and will now give the guys on oRNG their 2 cap.
Taking a look over the windmill node, I don't think Denchi's going to want to defend it, so this is like prime Sizer decap moments right now. If he can get on over there and get the decap, that'd be really huge for his team. Meanwhile, as I said earlier, Rom should not be at the mansion node. He's just literally wasting time there. He's not going to be able to get Kube off, and I don't think he'll be able to kill him. Sizer taking my advice, going for the decap. I like this play, because they can pull out sides efforts, and they did manage to kill Phrase with the Hellseth burst.
Texby getting very low here too. Tried to take down Tage, but not going to be happening here. Denshi going in for a secure stop over onto him. Texby will make no attempt to interrupt that, obviously, leaving only Zuik and now Hellseth to defend this middle point here at the moment. Sizer also adding himself into the mix here too, so that is going to cause a bit of a scramble on the side of oRNG as Denshi will get very low very, very quickly indeed, and might prompt some reinforcements to come in for the side of oRNG if they want to keep this thing decapped. Back over here to try and see if there's been any attempts at decaps to come in from the side notes just as of yet, and it's going to be a no on that one. However, very shortly,
yes, Hellseth ported right up there, getting us on that point as quick as possible to ensure the decap. Articuno blinks up there. Hellseth ports. Completely wastes his Articuno time, makes use of his portal for mobility, and now they have the outnumbered mid. Literally all 5 of the blue team members onto mid node, and this I think is a good trap opportunity. There's such a heavy focus onto the clock tower, and that's what Phrase is doing.
Frey will be firing that trap onto mid here at the moment in attempts of forcing the guys from TCG off of that one. Rom still sitting pretty on that midpoint there too, keeping himself rolling. Denshi slightly off node under the pressure from TCG, almost gets knocked off the platform here, but regardless, Texby's going to go for the lockdown play. Denshi gets his heal off, trying to return damage back onto Texby, but not too successful in doing so here at the moment, so that's going to force that's going to force Denshi back onto the node. He needs to support Rom a little bit here too, because we did see a MOA going off on a Rom. Not much of a follow-up on that one. In fact, it might have been better to do that over onto Denshi specifically, considering his low health at that past time. So with that in mind, we're still going to see a lot of pressure onto Denshi here, trying to see if any of it's been returned onto members from TCG at the moment. It's not looking like that's really been the case. TCG is still looking fairly healthy, the exception to that really being Sizer, and a good setup coming in there, immediately putting the DPS on the Sizer the second he gets back on mid, but it's going to be to no avail really, as Denshi has still gone down.
Did Rom just whip a War Banner?
No, that War Banner had been down, I'm pretty sure.
It's been there? All
yeah,
right.
It's been off cooldown for at least 40 seconds now, so
okay.
I don't believe...
Right. You're right, Blue. You're right. You didn't whiff. False alarm. I got excited.
So anyway, back on mid here. Kuve as well, still sitting in the downstate too. Rom probably going to have a pretty secure kill going into that regard here, as we don't really see anyone else from Orange kind of in pressure. But actually a bit of an unfortunate series here, as we did see Rom go down just seconds after we saw Kuve get stomped. So we're going to see a train off here.
So now it's a 2v2 at mid node. Fraze taking advantage of the fact that they just stomped at least or kill 2 people of the blue team over at mid node, going to decap mansion node, knowing that he won't get any contestation here. And yeah, although because of that, it looks like the blue team is able to wipe the red team because Frey's side to lead. Yeah, and they're going to get the mid node, but the red team will have sides.
Articuno does get back up on mid due to Hellseth getting stomped out there. Denshi as well will be returning to this, bringing it back up to a 2 versus 2. But the side nodes themselves still being controlled by oRNG, looking pretty good to hold on to their lead at the moment. The blue team home node being contested by Kuve versus Phrase. Kind of going to be a long battle there, so we'll come back to that one in a bit. And we're still being focused on mid. This is, again, another matchup where the rotations and the overall play style is extremely straightforward. We're not seeing a lot of side action activity so far this game.
I mean, we've seen the occasional decaps here and there, but Articuno has been really good at following, using his Blink and Fiery Greatstorm ability to make sure that no decaps happen. Also doing quick drive-by +1, making sure that they get the mansion node back on before the score gets too out of control to handle. At this point, TCG is really looking forward to either a really long 2-cap or a pretty short 3-cap in order for them to get back into the game. Orange doing a pretty good job right now. Articuno making sure that Windmill's in good shape. Just bleeding out Texby there, which is fine. Zuik getting really low mid. Things are looking pretty good for the red team right now.
Of course, we did just see blue team reclaim their own home node, so they're going to have reinforcements coming in, and there is a bit of a snowball possibly starting to form for TCG back onto mid. Zuik, however, is getting low, so he does need to watch out for this, as Denshi as well was just stomped out, so there is not going to be any res bots coming down. Rom's still low too, but they've really just been unable to kill Rom here. They've been trying so hard to knock him out, but it's just not been happening so far. Hellseth also very low. Oh my goodness, it's such a long poison sitting onto him. Yeah, such a long.
That might kill him. Probably not though, because
the burn will though.
Regen, but definitely going back into the fight will kill him.
And we will see him now going down.
Short work.
No way they're gonna res him. Yeah, quick work being made on killing him out there. Rom as well, I think, is now back up to full, and Rom sees as well that there is another opportunity to take back control of their opponent's home node. So Rom is definitely going to go for that once more. Will be followed closely behind by Kuve, so the actual attempt at that is not going to be happening just yet, Not only this as well, but Zuik has gone for a decap on Waterfall, and it is actually going to work out in their favor this time, as it has been quite a while since we've seen an attempt from TCG to go and decap that windmill, so we managed to get that one off. Again, though, considering the recent somewhat victory that was claimed by oRNG at mid, we did see a very quick follow-up on that, so we're not going to see a full cap coming out from Zuik. We will see a decap in mid, however, or we will see a continuation of the decap in mid, as we still have both Articuno and Tage trying to kill Texby here. Red team has Treb, or apologies, blue team does have Treb support in their favor at the moment for TCG. So with that in mind, that is going to add quite a bit of extra pressure, and actually will work to Denshi's, or will work to Texby's favor here.
I think how this happened is that Rom is kind of wasting his time again at Mansion Node. Like, whenever Rom isn't at Mansion Node, they've been winning a lot more, but now that he's back in Mansion Node, kind of wasting his time and unable to get the decap, he has to trust his team to win the 4-1. Realizing that that was a bad call of him not getting any +1s anytime soon, he's just going to leave that point, say, we really only need 1 point to win at this time, so I'm just going to make sure we don't lose that point or do anything too stupid. Texby getting really low at mid and going to probably be bled out there. Helseth going for the res. I doubt he'll get it. Poison on the corpse, reducing the healing that he's getting. I think they're looking really, really bleak for TCG right now. Orange.
Yeah, they're still down by about 100 points here, so there's still that potential for a comeback, but at this current time, if it goes on for much longer, again, we're going to be basically in the same situation as Game 1, where TCG is going to essentially just push things to a stalemate, but it's going to push in the favor of oRNG because of the fact that, again, all it's doing is it's not decreasing the lead gap at all. It's just pushing us closer and closer to an endgame state where oRNG will eventually win this one. oRNG definitely has been doing a fantastic job with holding their lines here, holding out on a lot of these fights here, and just in general trying to snuff out any attempts at backcaps from TCG. In recent times, they did end up screwing it up a little bit there back at the windmill, but overall, again, at the beginning and towards the middle of this fight, they've been doing an absolutely brilliant job of denying all decaps, which TCG was really been thriving on map 2, or on map 1 as well there, and with it just not being able to happen here, unfortunately, it's giving a huge advantage to the guys on oRNG.
Yeah, again, we just saw there, Sizer tried to decap there, he was halfway through, and then Articuno used his cooldowns, used his mobility, used his blink, and then he was able to get on the point, and then just kill Sizer at that point, because he used all of his cooldowns trying to get that decap. Articuno has really been their dedicated backpoint defender, and he's been doing a really nice job at it. I don't think he's really let many decaps go right now. And now he just knows that, hey, if they want to win, they need to beat Windmill.
And no, they're not even going to try it. Helseth's calling it. Helseth calls out the GG, so that's going to be it, guys. Congratulations to oRNG. They're going to claim maps 2 and 3 to take this tournament in their own favor, taking home 400 euros as well as top qualifying points to be used for the monthly coming up in just a few weeks. And as well, that'll give TCG second place here today. And as well, their old teammates will be taking home the victory.
A lot of good matches today. I'm glad I got to see Kylo games. Pretty rare occurrence. But when they do, you know games are good.
Yeah. But of course, guys, that is going to be the end of today's event. Do not forget that this is a weekly cup, and I believe it will be continuing into next month as well. So with that in mind, folks, if you are interested in playing in these tournaments, you can go ahead over to play.eslgaming.com/guildwars2 for the European tournament. It happens every Sunday at 10 a.m. Eastern time for the those of you in the US, and 4 p.m. or 16 CET for those of you in Europe. There's also a North American Cup, which is also going to be streamed, happening in just under 2 hours, actually. I'll be hosting that as well. It'll be right here on this Twitch channel, of course. That starts at 4 p.m. Eastern time, 1 p.m. Pacific for those of you on the West Coast. And I think with that, folks, don't forget as well that there's also a more casual cup that happens on Thursday nights, also hosted by ESL for the European people. That starts at 2 p.m. Eastern or 20 CET for those of you in Europe, and the North American one hosted by Misspedia starts at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 p.m. Pacific. Again, that's for North America, of course, but that is also being done on Thursday nights. With that out of the way, Nos, you want to go ahead and toss out your stuff there before we call it for today?
Oh yeah, I also want to reiterate that the NA Go4 Cup, I really want you guys to come check it out. I won't be shoutcasting it, but I will be playing in it. I'm on the team up dirt, so root for me, show me your love. If not, I won't hate you. It's okay. If you like my shoutcasting and you want to see more of me, I do stream from time to time. You can find me at twitch.tv/Fanaram. I normally stream Elementalist, but, you know, sometimes I'll go on Mesmer. So yeah, I think that just about sums it up, Blue. Had a lot of fun, saw plenty of good games. Glad I got up early for this. Good stuff.
All right, guys. Well, that's it for us today here at ESL. Thank you all very much for tuning in to the weekly European Cup. Once again, don't forget that the North American Cup is happening in just under 2 hours right here on this Twitch channel, starting at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific, or 22 CET. It's going to be hosted by me. Not sure if I'm doing it with anyone yet, but we'll find out. Anyway, though, folks, thanks again for tuning in. And if we don't see you for anything else happening throughout the week, we'll see you next week at Cup number 14 for the European ESL Go4GuildWars2 Cups. Thanks once again, folks. Have a good night.